and gentlemen, I'd like to ask if you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. I would ask that everybody please mute your cell phones. I'm stuck. Please refrain from texting. And I'd like to take an opportunity to welcome our Honorable District Justice, Georgia Stone, who's standing in the background. Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure.
I'm sorry, a roll call?
I
Oh, I have two stuff.
certainly will. President Percival.
Here.
Councilman Bull.
Here.
I'm sorry, Vice President Bull. Councilman Capabianco.
Here.
Councilman Long.
Here.
Councilwoman Guy.
Here.
Councilman Sidlow.
Here.
Councilman Swigert.
Here.
Solicitor Wills.
Here.
Engineer Catania.
Here.
Mr. Powers.
Here.
Mr. Pacini will not be here. You do have a quorum.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Pisani has been excused. Council's had an opportunity to read the minutes of the previous meeting. What's your pleasure, please?
Make a motion to pass last month's minutes. Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going out of the normal order of business this evening to vote on an interim mayor. I will start by saying that we have three candidates: Ashley Roberts, Robert Powers, and Matthew Saunders. Many of us have taken the opportunity to either speak or write to the candidates and ask specific questions. Hopefully, we all ask the candidates the same questions. I personally have talked to each of the three candidates. I'm a little old-fashioned in that way. I like to speak to people. And I believe several of the other council members have also corresponded with these candidates. At this time, I will go through with each of the council members to ask them who they would like to nominate for the position of interim mayor. And I will start with Vice President Bull.
We'd like to nominate Rob Powers for his exceptional work that he's done with the borough so far.
Mr. Sidlow?
Well, I think Matt is a very good candidate for the position. I think Rob has a long history of service to this community. It concerns me that he already has 3 positions in government, and I don't think it's appropriate to have one more position in government. I think that's too many hats being worn by the same individual. Ashley Roberts, I've come to know in the last 18 months or so. She's a very warm and caring individual. She's a very professional woman. She's a social worker. She has a real strong understanding of community and how it functions and how the police can be a positive or a negative role in the community. And so I support Ashley Roberts for this position.
Thank you. Councilman Schwager?
My personal opinion is that I think we should nominate, I'm going to nominate Mr. Saunders. I think we should try to steer away from anybody who's on the ballot for a borough council or the mayor's position for this fall. Again, personal opinion. I know Matt has lived here for a long time. He has an interest in the community. I'd like to nominate Matthew Saunders.
Councilman Capabianco?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Rob Powers. I have worked with him. I know him personally for many years. His potential outweighs, or I should say, tips the scale than any other candidates on here, so I'm voting for Rob Powers.
I will also declare, having spoken with all 3 candidates, my feeling, because this is an interim position for 3 months, that Mr. Powers is the most qualified to get us through the winter months with his many certifications in emergency management. Councilman Long?
I'm going to go with Mr. Powers. I just feel that he's been a lifelong member of Parkside. He knows Parkside inside and out, and most of the people know him. So I think he'd be the best.
Mrs. Guy?
I appreciate that the candidates all answered the questions that I asked, which were all the same for all of them. And I also think that it would be better not to have someone who is actually running for a position, so that they could focus more on the mayor position. So I will go with Matt Saunders.
Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that the majority of council would like to nominate Robert Powers as interim mayor. I will entertain a motion at this time to nominate Rob Powers as the interim mayor.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Guy.
Aye.
I'm sorry? No? Okay. Councilman Sidlow?
No.
No. Councilman Swiger?
No.
No. Councilman Long?
Yes.
Yes. Councilman Capabianco?
Yes.
Yes. Vice President Bull?
Yes.
President Percival?
Yes.
The
Ladies-
majority voted for
Mr. Powers.
Powers.
At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Powers and the Honorable Judge Stone to come in so we can swear in the interim mayor.
Did you have someone that you'd like to hold the Bible?
Do you want Sarah? You
Sarah's
want
here.
Sarah?
Sarah's here.
Me?
Yes, yes, you.
You got up.
Stand up.
All right, you're gonna repeat after me. I, Robert Powers,
I, Ronald Powers,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
to support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties of mayor for the Borough of Parkside
the duties of mayor for the Borough of Parkside
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Parks, you need to sign this too. So
Read that resolution.
Yep.
you're gonna sign the bottom and the handwrite, write your name in there, but I can do that if you want.
Sure. Who's going to do some resolution?
That's going to be next. Give me a second.
Okay.
Let's get signed up. Thank you.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you.
For those that aren't aware, the position is an interim position until January 2nd, 2022. And Chief, you have a new mayor and unlock the hook. At this time, I will ask Councilman Schwager, we need to adopt Resolution 1841.
Resolution 1841, whereas by public announcement made on August 25th, 2021, Mayor Thomas G. Dietman of Parkside Borough submitted a letter of resignation as mayor of Parkside Borough. And whereas said letter made his resignation effective August 31st, 2021, whereas the Borough Council of Parkside Borough at their public meeting on August 25th, 2021, accepted said resignation with regret. And whereas Article 9 of the Borough Code entitled Vacancies in Office requires that the Borough Council fill such a vacancy within 30 days by appointing a registered elector of the borough by resolution, and whereas the Borough Council has determined that Robert Powers is the most qualified candidate for the position, now therefore be it resolved this 22nd day of September 2021 that the Borough of Parkside, that Parkside Borough Council hereby appoints Robert Powers to fill the existing mayoral vacancy for Parkside Borough with said term of office to expire on January 3rd, 2022. Resolved the 22nd day of September 2021. Make a motion to adopt Resolution 1841.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. We'll go back into the regular order of business. Mrs. Higgins, do you have any correspondence this evening?
Yeah, the money brought into this office during the month of August was licenses and inspections, $8,991.38. From the police department for parking tickets and police reports, $110. Comcast for the franchise fee, $5,729.54. Verizon for the franchise fee, $3,466.89. A lien has been paid off in the amount of $407.22, and the recorder of deeds, $14,651. Court financial service, $98.22. From the borough tax collector, $25,290.01. Tax Claim Bureau, $1,966.22, and from District Court, $1,069.16, for a total in the month of August through this office, and it does not include the EIT or the LST tax, of $61,779.64. And I just have a notice here. I don't know how many in here remember Ardell Gordon. She was our mayor, and her husband Ted. They moved to Florida, and Ted has passed. So, and that's been quite a few months. But they are going to have a memorial on the 25th, which is this Saturday at 11 a.m. at the Brookhaven Methodist Church on Knowlton Road. And of course, all are invited to attend. It's just the memorial, but Ardell will be there. And that's all I have.
Super. Any questions for the secretary? Mayor, I don't know that you have a report, but I did leave something on your desk from the police chief, if you'd like to read that.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Crimes reported in August were 3, motor vehicle theft 1, burglary 1, drug possession 1, calls for service 196, suspicious persons 11, medical emergencies 9, assist other agencies 43, domestic 4, woodlot checks 41. There was 3 accidents, 20 traffic details, 20 motor vehicle stops, 6 traffic citations, and 14 warnings. August saw continued patrols of the woodlot through the month with 41 such checks by the officers during their patrol activities. Also note for 3 crimes reported, arrests were made in 2 out of the 3 of those crimes. End of report.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we do call to citizens for agenda-related items only. If you have a question concerning something on the agenda, this is the time you ask the question. If not, would you please wait until the call to citizens further down the agenda. Moving on to the President's report. Again, I will ask everybody to be patient with me. I have a lot to get through tonight. We've applied for the Delaware County Greenways grant to add ADA off-street parking at the woodlot, 5 lights, remove invasive vegetation and landscaping. We discussed also last month the DCNR grant to apply to. The budget meeting went well. I just want to remind everybody we have an October 12th, 6:30 p.m. budget meeting again here. We held 2 events this month, 911 ceremony and a Ford Fitness Trail dedication. Both events went very well. I would like to thank Councilman Capabianco, Councilman Long, Vice President Bull, Fire Marshal, now Mayor, Rob Powers, residents Kim Roman and Nicole Weeks, who helped with either of these events. Also, a special thank you to Police Officer Robert Cleary for playing the bagpipes at the event at the Ford Fitness Trail. A lot of times, there are many times we thank everybody and we tend to forget one or two along the way. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our roadmaster, Ryan Cornock. Ryan's always been there before, during, and after any event that we have had. He's truly dedicated to the borough, and I wanted him to know tonight how much we appreciate his help. For those of you who have not been on our website lately, it is being redesigned by our IT person because of issues with Google. For example, if you were looking for the minutes or the agenda, you would go under the minutes by the year, open that specific year, and you'll find the minutes and the agenda. So please check out the new design of our website. Our 2021 road program has been completed. There is some good news from the Commonwealth that there will be no tax increase during their 2021-2022 budget. However, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, starting January 2nd, will be increasing their fees. At this time, I'd also like to thank Mr. Wills and Councilman Nick Capabianco for all their help during the recent FOP negotiation sessions. We will ratify a 5-year contract with the FOP this evening. At this point, I'm asking everybody, have you had a chance to read the contract that our solicitor has sent everybody? If there is no questions on that, I will ask for a motion to ratify the contract with Delaware County FOP Lodge 27 and the Borough of Parkside.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions on the motion? Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call, please?
Okay, Councilwoman Guy,
Yes.
Councilman Sidlow,
Yes.
Councilman Swigert,
Yes.
Councilman Long,
Yes.
Councilman Capabianco,
Yes.
Vice President Bolt,
Yes.
President Percival.
Yes. We will so advise the FOP that the contract has been approved this evening and necessary forms will be signed off by the appropriate persons. The next topic this evening is the trash contract. As we know, B&L was low bidder. At this point this evening, we have to come to an understanding as to what services we will be taking and decide on how many times a week we will collect household trash, recycling, and heavy trash. Council has heard at the budget meeting that we are without funds. And looking at the contract or the spec sheet, bid sheet that Ms. Catania has drawn up, we need to come together as a group and make a decision this evening as to how many times the collection will be, so we can input this into the budget. Our next budget, again, meeting is October 12th, and that's right around the corner. So I'd like everybody's input as to how many times, again, household trash, recycling, and heavy trash. Please look at the figures on the spreadsheet that was provided as far as the cost. And I'm going to throw this out. Single stream curbside recycling twice monthly, year one, $45,000. So I will start with Vice President. Your thoughts as to how many times per month on each of the three entities?
Bulk trash has always been nice, twice annually. I have not run into a problem with B&L not being a good provider of, you call them, they tell you an extra $10, they send another truck for bulk trash. It does have curbside recycling once a week at the same price. I think the only caveat should be that if we end up getting to a point where the volume's just not there, we should start to revisit. So I don't know if perhaps in year 2 or year 3 that can be, for years we've tried to get above roughly 9 tons for a community of 900 homes. That's like a relatively small amount. And it does represent a little bit of a fiscal constraint because tipping fees are expensive for recycling at this point. But I think we should give the program a solid shake at the once weekly, because it's the same price with a revisit in year 2.
And that's once weekly for recycling.
Yes.
Mr. Sidlow?
Well, my preference is definitely once a week recycling. I have a rental property in Haverford Township, and they do not do bulk trash collection. They do $50. You call them up and you get your bulk trash. And I know that's not how we've done things in the past, but I'm kind of the opinion that people should pay for large disposal items, and that it should not be part of the standard practice. So I would advocate for paying for bulk. And I also think that multifamily properties, I know we're talking about purchasing trash and not paying for trash, but I think that multifamily properties should pay additional for trash collection. So if you have a 1-unit home, let's say it's $250, or let's use $200 for a round number, for a simple number, per year, then a multifamily property that has 2 units should pay like 25% more and pay like $250. If the multifamily property has 3 units, then they should pay like $300. So we should have like a little bit of increase per additional unit for the multifamily properties in the borough.
Mr. Sidlow, each property is taxed individually.
Right, but they have, but trash is a fee, it's not a
That's
tax.
correct. Each individual property has their own individual tax fee.
Right, and then it has a trash fee.
Each unit has an individual trash fee.
Each, already,
Yes.
so a 3-unit building pays 3 times the trash fee.
What do you regard as a 3-unit building, like 3 apartments?
3 apartments, yeah.
Are they not considered commercial and have to pay their own?
Is that what we have in this
I'm
municipality? We're-
asking you. I mean, you brought this up. If it's a commercial building, don't they have their own trash hauler?
Is that what our apartments in this community do?
Go ahead, Nick.
She says she's asking you. You should do the research on it before you ask the question.
Okay, let's.
Okay, so
let's-
somebody who is smarter and more informed and a much better council person than I,
Mr. Sidlow,
please give me the answer.
Mr. Sidlow, please don't insult somebody so
Okay, well,
early
you
in
were
the
doing
meeting.
that, you were doing that to me,
What I
so.
am saying to you is, if it's a triplex,
Right,
each unit pays their own trash fee. If you're talking about a commercial apartment building with 3 apartments, if I'm catching this right, then that commercial building pays for their own commercial trash.
okay, then that's not part of then they're not being assessed a trash fee by the municipality, by us, when the tax bill comes out.
They're under a different entity in trash fees than we would be.
Okay,
So what you're telling me is you would like weekly recycling twice, you don't want any heavy trash pickup.
if we have so my question with that is though, does the resident pay B&L directly, or does the money go through our office? Because if it comes through our office, I don't know that we have the resources to manage that process. But if you call B&L and you say, I want a bulk trash pickup, and you pay $50 for it, I think that's the more appropriate way to go than for the entire community to pay for bulk trash pickup, when some people don't utilize it.
If you see under C, special collection to be on an on-call basis per resident is $50 for that resident to call up B&L and say, I want a special collection. If they are doing a bulk pickup monthly, year 1 would be $21,000. And that's a monthly pickup.
Right. So again, I think we should not pay the monthly bulk trash pickup. I think the
Okay.
individuals should pay the bulk.
So no heavy trash. Councilman Capabianco?
I will mirror Vice President and Financial Doug Pohl's answers.
Okay, and Doug, I believe, has said he would like to go with 2-time pickup for regular trash, weekly recycling,
Yes.
and the bulk trash was once a month?
No, twice a year.
Twice a year. Twice a year. All right, let me say as far as I'm concerned, I like the 2-time pickup for regular trash. I also have to go with recycling weekly. However, I see the amount of bulk trash that's out there, and I honestly feel that we should do a bulk trash pickup monthly where we do not charge the residents. Councilman Long?
I'll go with the Vice President Bull with the twice a week. And for the first year, try the recycling once a week. Personally, I'd like to see the recycling go and have the residents do it privately. I just feel that's the residents that don't want to recycle, why should they have to pay for the residents that want to recycle? It's just an added fee at this time. I think some residents just can't afford it. So I just think recycling is a personal issue, and if it's personal, you should pay for it yourself. And for bulk, I would say once a month as well.
Once a month. Mrs. Guy?
I also agree with the twice a week trash, once a week recycling, and I like the once a month bulk. It comes out to $25 a household per year, and I think it really prevents people from keeping a lot of trash on their property that they'd be better served getting rid of.
I agree.
Now, is this for B&L?
Yes, that's correct. They were low bidder.
So we have to go with B&L?
I would prefer to, yes, because if you compare, yes.
Yeah, there's not much of a comparison.
There's not much of a
Well, I'm
comparison.
just
You're
concerned
talking-
because of their, the attitude of the employees.
And
that I'm
did you
concerned.
get the copy of their manual that I sent out
I
to,
don't remember if I did or not.
I will go back in my emails and send it to you. Yes.
Just so everyone is aware, in the contract itself, there is a special condition. If there is a problem with B&L, I need to know about it. And I need to know about it because there may be no vulgar language. They have to act professionally. So if there is any issue to that regard, we can advise B&L and put them on notice. That particular person will not be allowed to service this community. So, just so you're aware of that, I'm not sure that everyone was aware of that. We've had issues, not necessarily with B&L, but with other contractors, where we have told the contractor that they may not return to the job site.
Okay, and that's fine. We just had some issues this past couple of months.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we all agree on two things.
President Percival, if I could chime in?
I didn't ask you?
No.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Because I might be throwing a slight wrench into what your counts, because I know you're keeping
No,
track
go
of it.
ahead.
I like the twice a week pickup, the weekly recycling. I know for me personally, it gets hard if I miss that first Wednesday. And I think the monthly bulk trash is the good option there.
And I'll be honest, my concern is I see how much just goes on my street on every Friday when you're only supposed to put out 3 items and there's 12 sitting there. I hate to think of where people are going to store these items if we only do them 2 times a year. They're going to be left on the side of the properties, creating a rodent infestation issue. And I honestly think, and I'll tell you the prices here. If we do it pick up monthly for bulk trash, we go back to once a month, it's $21,000. And yes, it is a difference where we only collect, but the difference is only $11,000 for the first year. And I honestly think for the health and welfare of the community, for people who want to store things, they don't want to store it in their house. Putting it next to their house or in their garages can create issues. And I honestly think that residents deserve a once-a-month bulk trash pickup. And that's my opinion. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have come to the decision, first of all, household trash twice a week. We're going to try recycling once a week. And let's go with the heavy trash once a month. And those are my reasonings to do this. If everybody's okay with that, I need a motion to approve those terms to move on with B&L as the trash hauler.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
I'm sorry, who seconded that? I didn't. Doug, thank you.
Mrs. Higgins, do I have any questions on the motion?
Can I just verify this?
Yes.
Just for a second? Okay, so we are taking item number A, where year one is $161,000, year two is $165,000, year three is $167,000. We are not taking item B, which is a special trash collection and twice annually. We are not doing a special collection on-call basis per resident.
That's correct.
We're doing alternate number 2, which is curbside recycling once weekly at $45,000 for the first year, $46,350 for the second. Third year is $48,000. And alternate 3, which is bulk trash pickup monthly for year 1 of $21,000, year 2 $23,000, and year 2, $23,000, and year 3 $25,000.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the contract correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we need to so notify our treasurer so he can input this into the trash fee. Mrs. Higgins, if you would send him an email tomorrow. Any other questions on the motion? Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call vote on the motion to accept the proposal from B&L Disposal, household trash twice a week, recycling once a week, and bulk trash once a month?
Okay. Councilwoman Guy,
Yes.
Councilman Sidlow,
Yes.
Councilman Swaggart,
Yes.
Councilman Long,
Yes.
Councilman Capabianco.
Yes.
Vice President Bolt,
Yes.
President Percival,
Yes.
unanimous.
And I would ask that the necessary contracts be drawn up between Parkside Borough and B&L. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on, I still have more, and I'm sorry, it's a long-winded meeting. As everybody is aware, we've had numerous communication with PennDOT concerning the sinkhole issues on Edgemont Avenue. PennDOT has not sent us any solutions. Our engineer and I have been in touch concerning various ideas. This project's not eligible for a PennVest loan. We do not have the plans or a complete survey on the corridor to determine the depth or the size of the inlet and necessary information to proceed with a successful estimate. At this point, I feel there's only two solutions, since PennDOT is becoming a little annoyed every time our police officers call to fill the holes. My two solutions for council to consider this evening, and we must make a decision tonight. The one would be to take out a bank loan for approximately $100,000. So the second solution would be to consider a Pennsylvania small sewer and water grant through DEP. My problem is I don't know how long it would take to get this grant through. And as everybody knows, we have $100,000, we need an additional 100. So I'd like council's perspective on where we go and what we do now. Vice President, would you like to start?
May I, before you go
Please.
too far?
Go,
Okay.
please.
So I don't know that everyone is aware. I spoke to Mike Burke over at PennDOT District 6 Maintenance. And one of the things that PennDOT's worried about, as are we, is the safety of the corridor. PennDOT has a program called the Highway Improvement Safety Project. So I suggested that we should petition, that we would petition PennDOT to take a look at the safety issue that these sinkholes are causing and potentially assist the community. Told me he was going to go back to his supervisor to see what could be done, not only with that program, but as well some interim help until they can make a determination. I haven't heard back from him yet. That was last Monday or Tuesday I spoke to Mike. But I wanted everybody to understand that's what we're trying to do. I also think if we're going to push a highway improvement safety project, that we need to get the legislators involved. We've been successful in some of my other municipalities with that, with a big push from the legislators. So our next step would be to contact State Representative Kirkland, who is the representative in charge of it, and see if he can't provide us some help. I think that's important, not only for the officials here to do that, but as well, there's a voice out there that are providing votes. So I might suggest that you make as many phone calls as you can as well. And I know that's kind of a political backdrop, but that seems to be the way that these programs work. That's how they get projects completed. So that's as much as I need to say.
Well, let me ask, how long should we wait before we contact a bank for a loan? I mean, we've got to do something. I have visions of a truck going head over teacups right into a hole. And our officers, the chief can tell you, they're getting tired of every 3 days calling PennDOT and saying the hole's sinking.
Well, that's up to council. I can only give you the information. I will also tell you that Chester Water Authority has provided a PA1 call. There was a contract for PICO. If you look where the one major sinkhole is, PICO's contractor was out there in January of this year doing work right there. So although we may have found through our video that there is a problem, a deficiency in the pipe, in that the bottom of the pipe is rusting out. It's deteriorating. It's a steel pipe. So after a while, the bottoms rust out. The top usually is fine. You can just see the bottom rusted out of it. That could very well be that they have compromised the top of that pipe and we just don't know it. So that's the worst case scenario, is we have to replace all the pipe because we've now found that there is a deteriorated pipe. The best case scenario is that for an interim we can just, or someone, and it should probably, if we do find that it is that contractor, repair that section of pipe and be done with it until we can find the money. So that's my recommendation. I would suggest that you hold off until next month, so at least we can allow PennDOT. I sent all the information. Chester Water Authority was great about it. They gave me the PA1 call number. They gave me the information from the one call, the ticket, all of the information, and I forwarded that to PennDOT to see if we can't get some action for that.
Thank you. I will take the engineer's advice and hold off, but I would also ask our solicitor, Mr. Wills, if you would contact our representative Kirkland and let him know what's going on. Can we get motivated with PennDOT and see if anybody can give us some help?
I would further suggest that Borough Council, in the interim, authorize the Borough Treasurer to initiate some communications. Again, I would suggest with our bank, the bank we use, which is Sharon Savings Bank, we would probably obtain the most favorable rates, obviously, from the commercial bank that we are doing our finances with, and at least initiate discussions and communications about a potential loan. So I think we need to do a multiple track process here.
I agree with our solicitor. We need to reach out to several banks. Several banks have very low interest rates right now, besides Sharon Bank. And I would ask council I'll entertain a motion to at least have
Well, can I ask some questions before we start?
can I get the motion out first? And then
No,
under
because
questions of the motion?
I don't have
then-
questions on the motions. I have questions about our discussion right now.
Go ahead, Mr. Sidlow, I'm listening.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm trying to understand the cart and horse situation. So, do we have a solid scope of work of what needs to be done?
We've answered your question several times. We need to get as I just said, we need to find out the necessary information from PennDOT. We need to have complete plans or complete survey of the corridor done to determine the depth and size of the inlet and the necessary information to get a successful estimate.
Okay, so,
And the plans for that corridor area are in the archives of PennDOT. So we actually have to go back to PennDOT and ask them to give us those plans for that corridor.
okay, so that seems like the first step before we start trying to figure out where to get money from.
Well, I think it's gonna take us
Or-
some
or-
time to get a loan, but the thing is, we've been talking about these potholes for 2 or 3 months, and they're still sinking, so we've gotta do something before somebody is injured there.
Right, and what has delayed us from getting those survey data from PennDOT, from those plans from PennDOT?
Well,
If any, maybe nothing has delayed us, I don't know.
It's been requested.
It's been requested, okay, so we're waiting on that. So you really can't do any engineering until you receive those documents?
Right now, we have no plans whatsoever of that corridor.
Okay,
It was designed by PennDOT or PennDOT's consultant, and it was constructed by PennDOT. So we, as a municipality, do not have copies of those plans.
okay,
So in order for us to do anything, we either have to go out and do a full survey of the entire corridor to get that information, or get the sets of plans from PennDOT. We may hear from PennDOT that they don't have them.
okay.
And at that point, then we're stuck.
So then,
But I don't want to spend $10,000 in survey work if we can get at least some plan that says, I mean, I know that the inlet, from the inlet boxes to the center of the road, and the main storm sewer pipe is in the center of the road. What size that pipe is, I know what it is where you can daylight it at the creek, but I don't know what it is along the entire corridor. So we need pipe sizes, pipe slopes, in order for us to determine what we can do. I'm hoping if we can, we would detour traffic. It would have to be on all the state highway, so it wouldn't be through our town, and we could possibly line some of it so we're not spending as much money, if indeed we have to do any of it.
okay,
So that's where we are right now.
all right, thank you for that thorough
Your
explanation.
scope of work that you were asking for,
Right.
there's one of two things. If PennDOT finds that the contractor for Pico is responsible for the sinkhole currently, that they compromised the top of that pipe, and they've got to repair it, then our scope of work can be farther down the road, that we can look at some of these grants,
Right,
right? Because what we know is at least 400 feet of pipe has a bottom that is rotted out. And believe me, it will be years and years. As long as the soil around it stays in place, it will be fine for years. So there's no imminent danger of everybody caving in as they drive or walk, just so everybody is aware of that. I know that I would rather say that than everybody think that we're going to be in imminent danger and falling into the depths of you know where. Okay?
Okay, so at the budget meeting a week ago, the number was $130,000. This week, $200,000 was discussed. We really don't have any kind of dollar values at all to know what this
Mr.
project
Sidlow,
would be. Is
if-
that correct?
If you check your notes from the last 2 months when we were talking about this sinkhole, the initial projection.
So we're just,
Wait, let me finish, please. The initial projection was 130,000 without PennDOT
right,
permits.
what is that based on?
Without flaggers, which we have to pay, without any engineering fees, without any construction issues, which would project us up to the $200,000 mark. And we've talked about this. Please
But-
check your notes.
It's not the 400 lineal feet, okay? What we looked at is what we need to do immediately.
Right.
Okay,
All right, so I just took that length, multiplied it by $180 a lineal foot.
Okay.
And said, that's as close as I can get right now because I don't have anything to work from.
okay, now I have an answer of where that number
Okay.
came from.
We discussed this for the last 2 months, and we
Look,
even,
please stop speaking down to me, okay?
Yeah,
Just
Mr.
because it may have been discussed before, go bang your gavel,
Mr.
that's fine.
Sidlow, let me ask you this.
No,
Are
you-
you
you-
taking notes during each council meeting in which we've
Mrs.
stated
Percival, I don't think it's-
$180 per foot?
Mrs. Percival,
Have you taken the notes?
It is, I don't recall $180 per foot being discussed.
Okay.
And if I did not, it's okay for me to
And
ask
it is
again.
okay.
So
Check your
why are you
emails.
so?
Check your emails. I think it was mentioned in one of the emails that was sent to all of us. And if you're finished now, can we move on to entertain a motion?
No, I've not finished asking questions. So, and please don't speak
Please.
down to me because I'm asking questions.
Mr. Sidlow, you're
I
being
think,
disrespectful. Would you move on with your question? This is not a political forum. This is a government event. It's called government. Now, do you have a government question concerning what we just discussed?
whatever my questions were are gone now. So thank you for having the discussion, Mrs. Catania. I appreciate you asking questions. I will continue to ask questions in an appropriate way till I understand what it is I'm voting for and what the issues facing this community are, regardless of whether I have missed that at a previous meeting or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion to at least have our treasurer explore the various bank rates
Oh,
with the
I
possibility of taking out a loan to repair Edgemont Avenue if no other sources are available.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on that motion?
Madam President, I have a question on that motion.
Yes, sir.
I would like to see us move forward the trans note and expand it so that we have that coverage. Move it to $200,000 for this year. Hold that money in escrow with any federal funds that we receive. And then pursue grants, and then we have that buffer if we need it. If we don't, we pay it back at 3% interest. It's really free money.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Would you like to amend it to have,
I will amend that motion to the words of our Vice President Treasurer, Dr. Ball.
to look into expanding our trans note to 200,000?
Yes, correct.
Super. Any questions on that motion? Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Excuse me. Councilwoman Guy,
Yes.
Councilman Sidlow,
Do you disagree?
yes.
You disagree?
Councilman Swigert,
Yes.
Councilman Long,
Yes.
Councilman Capabianco,
Yes.
Vice President Bull,
Yes.
President Percival.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm finally finished.
Yahoo!
Any questions on my report? Hearing none, we will move on to the Police Public Safety Code Enforcement Report. Councilman Capabianco.
Thank you, Madam President. All emergency vehicles had their annual service done for the month. For code violations, there have been 2 failures to obtain a use and occupancy, one on Beechwood and one on West Rowan. There was a violation of failure to obtain a tenant registration on Beechwood, and there was 2 trash issues. That's what I have for code violations.
Councilman, let me stop you before you go into Public Works and property. Many people don't understand exactly what you do and how you come to this written report. Would you just give everybody a brief description for the public's information as to what you do as far as being a code officer and how you come to these violations?
Sure.
What do you do for this?
Yeah, first of all, let me just say this. Any money that we get from permits, parking tickets, or any fees that the borough incurred from the SPCA and Brandywine, it comes to my office. I go then, get that invoice, and then I send it to the person's dog that was at large. At no time, and I repeat, at no time has any money switched hands on the streets. It's always done inside this borough, and it goes to the treasurer. There's a post out there where it's a blatant lie. What's saying that is, and what doing code enforcement is that the complaint comes in either through the borough secretary or the police department. I get notified of that violation. I then go out there and I do the investigation on that violation. Once that's established, I either do one of 3 things. I either contact the person that is there at the house, the homeowner. If I have their phone number, I will call them. And thirdly, as by law from the International Property Maintenance Code, I need to have them post a letter. I document it with a timestamp picture stating the violation, the code, and what the recommendations are to resolve that issue. And every letter that I ever wrote in the 6 years I've been doing this, at the very bottom of it, it says, please contact this office if you have any questions. So once that's up, and a lot of time has been given, I then either call the person up if I had their phone number, and I ask them what their intentions are before I write any citations. If they have an excuse of why it wasn't done, I give them the benefit of the doubt and I allow them more time. If they don't come back and give me an answer, then it goes up to the courts and let the judge deal with it. Once up at the judges and we're up there, I usually go to defend it. 9 and 10 times I go back to defend it. I talk to them. If they resolve the issue, I withdraw the tickets. I'm respectful for everybody up there. I'm civil with them. I always give them the benefit of the doubt. Never, ever, ever have I ever walked into 10 Beechwood, owned by Patricia Collier, Coiner, as an emergency service person or as code enforcement. Never, ever, I'm saying it, never, ever have I ever stepped in that woman's house. I'm getting all these social medias with the blatant lies from Miss Coiner and Mr. Sidlow. Blatant lies. And I'll show you the proof right now. I'm going to ask the mayor / fire marshal that has been on the scene the whole time, have I ever stepped in that lady's house?
As the emergency management coordinator in the borough, I am paid yearly to respond to every emergency in the borough, whether it be accidents, whether it be medical, whether it be police officer situations, and I help the police officers for any resources they need outside of their criminal investigation. I was at every call on 10 Beechwood Road, and there's been several of them. Nick has never been on that property or in that house and has never interfered with any patient. That's my statement.
Mr. Councilman Capabianco, are you finished?
No, I have not. I'm asking for a public apology for the blatant lies on social media by Mr. Sidlow. Hearing none, let my record show up at the court, I'm 64-0. That's 64 wins and 0 losses for all the hard work that I do to keep the health and safety of all residents of Parkside. That's what I have there. That's enough I have on that.
Let me interject something, since, excuse me, do you
You have
have,
something to say?
do you want to wait? Do you want to wait until call to citizen, please?
No, this is.
Because you're interrupting a council meeting.
This is making me really angry that he's sitting on government and lying.
Okay,
Oh.
why don't you wait until the end of, and call to citizens, you will have your 3 minutes to speak.
Okay. That's fine.
Let me interject something. I understand the situation the last 2 days have been going on. I'd like to point out 2 things that, and I always say, learn the laws that govern us. And I'm sure people are sick. Excuse me, would you like to either stop talking or remove until we get to the time of call to citizens? Because I heard that all the way up here.
That's fine. I just want.
Then I would suggest you please.
Can you remove him?
Remove him.
I will give you one more warning. Please stop or you will be removed. Stop or you will be removed.
I'll remove myself. Just let me know when it's time for me to talk.
Thank you.
If guys
Somebody-
wanna be on government and lying,
Somebody can come back and get you, okay?
You guys should be ashamed of yourself.
Officer, would you remove this person, please?
I'll remove myself. You guys should be ashamed of
Thank
yourself.
you.
Absolutely despicable.
Let me again start over and say that we need to learn the laws that govern us. I'd like to point out
You guys are lying.
State Code number 1104. This state code is specific to populations of boroughs for 3,000 people or under. The code states that any elected official can serve as an employee of the borough as long as our population is no more than 3,000. There's also been a question as to how the code officer gets paid. I'm going to read this out of section 119-6, which is inspections, use and occupancy, some people call it. The code official will receive a compensation for each inspection made $30, for re-inspection $25. The remaining fee collected will be retained by the Borough of Parkside. In another section, and this is for leased or commercial properties, leased properties inspected and re-inspected will receive a compensation. This entails all code officers. For each inspection made of 1/2 the inspection fee, the remainder of the inspection fee will be retained by the Borough of Parkside. There is another section in the code. It repeats itself, is identical to what I just said. I'd like to make sure that everybody understands. This is for inspections only. This is not for code violations when somebody's grass is too high or any other code violation. The code violations, the code officers do not get paid for. Just so that is on the official record. Inspections only. And Mr. Sidlow, whether you apologize or not, that's going to be between you and the council member. But I certainly feel that you do owe him an apology.
May I continue to Public Works?
Yes, please.
Okay, the borough buildings has been sanitized along with the police vehicles. The fire extinguishers had their yearly inspection. And I would like to thank Rob Powers and our chief of Parkside Fire Department back there for allowing me to get recertified in my CPR and AD classes. I thank you very much and thank your members. Other than that, I'm good to go.
Any questions for the council member? Councilman Schwager, do you have anything for ordinances this evening?
I can just report general progress for ordinances and
Super. Councilman Long, license and inspections.
Thank you, Madam
Also-
President.
Yes.
The permits issued for this month were building residential 6, commercial 0, plumbing residential 2, commercial 0, mechanical 0, mechanical residential 0, commercial 0, electrical residential 1, commercial 0, Use and occupancies, inspections were completed were 7, re-inspection 1, and the street opening permit issued was 1. That's all I have.
Thank you. Emergency Management, Mayor Powers, do you have anything for Emergency Management, Fire Marshal, or the Health Board
Thank you, Madam President. Respectively, no report.
on all three?
Yes.
Super, moving on to finances. Vice President Bull,
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
any questions on the motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, I'm slow. I have a question.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, where'd it go?
You have a question on paying the bills?
On the bills, yeah. So there are 2 line items. Eric Long, 9.5 hours, Eric Long, 43.5 hours, at $15 an hour.
Yes.
What is that?
Mrs. Higgins was on vacation for 2.5 weeks, and Mr. Long filled in as a part-time secretary.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody else have questions on the bills? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll report general progress on the remaining part of the finance report. Talks are in play for the 2022 budget, and hopefully they move along swimmingly. Moving along to the Woodlawn Project.
Vice President, may I interrupt, please?
Sure.
Would you get in touch with the treasurer tomorrow and let him know that we'd like to expand the transnote? And also,
Absolutely.
Mr. Wills will also be in touch with him.
I'll send them a text
Thank
as soon
you.
as we're done. Thank you for the reminder. Woodlawn Project, I want to thank everyone that attended the dedication. I thought it was really nice. Everybody put it together, the Powers family. It was a nice tribute to the Ford family. And I hope you guys all go use it. It's definitely a little crown jewel in our neighborhood. There's been Eagle Scout projects back there. There's been, a lot of really nice things. And it was kind of neat after the dedication to meet a woman that was over there looking at a property and was considering Parkside based on the woodlot. And she was moving down from, I don't know if it's Gladwin or somewhere, but, got tired of getting beat up on the taxes. Her kids had been grown and things like that. So I just thought that was a real nice feather in our cap for the
Did you give me
community.
my address?
I was gonna try.
Ask for sale.
Up to the new year.
Oh. Thank you. So with that, it was a fantastic experience, and thank you, Ms. Catania, for all the hard work that you did. It worked out real nice, and it's a good time. We actually, who gave it to him?
Yes.
Yes. Madam President, Shirley Percival gave this to the Ford family as part of the dedication, and they thought it would be a fitting tribute for us to hang it here in the Borough chambers, and I would be appreciative if council would agree to hang this up in
Yes.
perpetuity. So,
That would be wonderful for us to have that memory.
so,
Thank you.
thank you. And that is all I have. Oh, yeah. Thank you, thank you. You hand it to him?
That works.
Give it to him?
We'll hang it up.
Yeah, we'll hang it
here.
up, but thank you for
We'll
coming to the
take care of
meeting.
it.
Thank you,
You good?
thank you.
Any questions for Vice President? Moving on to Recreation, Councilman Schweiger, do you have anything for Recreation tonight?
Committee's working hard, getting things prepared for our Christmas party. So, other than that, just report general progress.
Super, thank you. Recycling MS4,
Yes,
Councilman?
Madam President, thank you. Trash was 102.52 tons, and recycling was 8 tons, 0.66. That's the report.
I would like to see, once we get weekly recycling, those totals to go off.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It would be. Did the tax collector leave a report, Mrs. Higgins?
He did. The treasurer has received a total of $984,304.72 to date. There was a total of $10,235.35 in revenue deposits from August 16th to September 20th. That's it.
Super. I'd like to go into the engineer's report. Ms. Catania?
I'd like to dovetail on the recycling. Do we still have trash cans or recycling cans in the garage?
Yes.
So residents that may need a recycling can, since you're going to be doing this weekly, I don't know how they would get them, but it might be something that you want to put on, advertise on the website that they're available. We received those cans as part of a DEP grant a few years ago. Just remember that give your trash a second chance, as they say. The sinkholes we've already talked about. I'm not going to go through that again. We did receive the report, and I have to apologize because I didn't realize I had this until I went back to Jim McGilligan and said, "Where's my report?" And he said, "I sent it to you back on September the 3rd." So I was a little embarrassed by that, but anyway, we do have the report. A couple things that I wanted to bring to attention that I think we probably should get a proposal from ERS and a couple other of the vendors in the area, HVAC contractors in the area. Joe has in his report on page 2 the intake fan, the exhaust fan for up in the attic and where it should be placed. The specifications are in that. There's a schedule there for those units, the manufacturer, the size, etc. So I think we ought to find out what it would cost to get that completed. There's insulation that's missing upstairs. If you go through the report, you can see the lovely coloring of the infrared scans that were completed. We do need to have some work to do on the insulation. There's some things that should be done, but I don't know that it's imminent that we need to do them, and that's replacing the flex ducts with rigid duct, all of the 90-degree angles. Each time you have friction in those ducts. So he's suggesting that you replace those. There are some areas that the ducts needs insulation to be resealed and replaced. And last but not least, right now both units are in working order. The one unit that is this rear unit over at the police station is 17 years old, so it's at end of life. We ought to budget for a new unit for that particular. The one in the front was replaced, or some of the major parts were replaced in 2019. So that's really the report. I didn't want to go through it line by line, but for the most part, they're the items. I can put together a real quick scope, actually just take this report, highlight it, and ask contractors to give us some numbers on that, if you want me to do it, or anybody here in the
I would
office.
recommend that our engineer follow up and get several proposals based on the recommendations through the Paradigm Company. Again, everybody sees the report, we've all read it, what needs done, how old the unit is, from August of 2004, and is considered end of life.
17 in my world is not in the
17's not bad. My recommendation is to allow the engineer to go ahead and get several proposals so we can continue to move forward with this.
All right.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
May I comment? So,
Do we have a second on the motion first before we go to questions?
I'll second.
Questions on the motion?
So professionally, I work in building performance. I evaluate homes and buildings to determine how energy efficient they are. I attempted to access the attic of this building. I was denied that access by someone who's equal to me. I don't understand how someone who's equal to me can prevent me from looking into a matter in this borough building. But looking at the pictures in the photograph, and I think the weakness of the report is that it does show voids and gaps in the insulation. It also shows some air leakage locations with the infrared camera. But we don't know the depth of insulation. It appears to be the joist height, which would be 6 inches, which would only be an R19. An attic, should be insulated to R49. So in addition to mechanical improvements, the real way to solve the comfort issues in this building is to do significant air sealing and additional insulation. The insulation should go from this high to this high, and that is going to be a number one driver of comfort improvements, more so than the HVAC improvements. The HVAC improvements will continue to do the same thing that we have now. Air sealing and insulating will improve comfort levels. So-
Mr. Sidlow, the company recommends R8 insulation.
Right,
And as you saw.
on the
through
ductwork, but not as the attic insulation.
That's correct. And if you saw through this periodically, if you looked at this, there are issues, not just with the insulation, but the ventilation in the attic. We need to add an intake fan, an exhaust fan, replace some of the length on the flex ducts, and the motor operating the damper needs to be checked to see if it's working. It's just not insulation. There's a whole complex list, if you read this, as to what the issue was.
Right. It's a building performance project, and the engineer seems very qualified and very professional, and I just think they're a mechanical engineer. I think a contractor that works in insulation and air sealing would in addition to the mechanical improvements, also highlight the building shell improvements that are truly required to make comfort level, and I think that is touched on in this report, but not deep enough in detail. So if we're going to have a motion, I think we should need to talk to an air sealing and insulation contractor as well as a mechanical contractor.
And the motion is to have the engineer look for proposals based on each of these issues that have been brought up.
All right, if I may, please. First of all, I don't disagree with Mr. Sidlow that there is some insulation issues. However, we can do some of those insulation issues, and it was brought up in the report. The major issue that we have is that we are not ventilating that attic area, and it is not allowing the air conditioning unit to work properly. So that is our major concern right now. As far as the proposal or your recommendation for insulation, that is the current. We're looking at a building that was built in 2007. Not that it couldn't be done, but we're looking at a different recommendation from ASHRAE, or the heating and air conditioning gurus. I happen to be a civil engineer, so other than some ASHRAE classes that I've taken, I don't purport to be a HVAC expert. But as we move forward with energy conservation, the recommendations are getting more and more towards that comfort level that Mr. Sidlow was talking about. What we're looking at right now is to get the issue of the operation of the air conditioning and heating units up to par. What I would suggest is that at some point in time that you look at that kind of a cost estimate, right? We could do that under an energy grant to see what it would cost, and you would put that in your budget, all right? But right now, the things that Joe looked at it from an HVAC operations and touched on the very issues of insulation and getting to that comfort level, but not, you're right, it's not as in-depth because that wasn't the mission of this particular report, okay?
Any other questions on the motion?
So we're just seeking, if we seek proposals, can we seek a proposal for heat pumps as well as furnaces and not just replace the same type of equipment, please?
We're looking for someone to give us proposals on correcting the issues that are in this report.
FYI, I am not going out for proposal to replace that unit at this point.
Fine, very good.
So what I'm looking at is the issues that we can do immediate to have some immediate remediation. And I'm going to call it remediation. It's not going to complete the project. I know what a certain BTU air conditioning unit's going to cost. We all have that number. These are off the shelf. So we can plug that into a budget and know what we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay? So this is more, let's get the attic fans in, let's get some of the seal that we need, get some of the insulation that's damaged, replaced. That kind of work that we're not going into extreme debt for that comfort level, for that high efficiency.
You won't go into debt for that requirement, but whatever.
Mr. Sidlow, again, once more,
You have to understand my point, where I get told I can't do a grant that has a match to it. So I have a different outlook on in debt than maybe you do.
It's all an iterative step in the right direction.
we're, again, if everybody on council has read this report, which we all received, again, units are marginal. We need ventilation in the attic, add intake fan and exhaust fan, replace long lengths of flex ducts, duct wrap, motor may or may not be operating on the dampers. These are all things that we're asking for, is to have a proposal or several proposals to give us an idea to immediately correct these issues. We will then move on to the purchase of whatever equipment, heater, air conditioner, heat pump that we need. But to start with, we need to correct these issues. And that's what the motion is, to have Ms. Catania get a couple proposals to do an immediate correction on these issues. So everybody's gotten this one, so we all know what we're talking about. Mrs. Higgins, would you do a roll call vote on that motion, please?
I will. Okay, Councilwoman Guy,
Yes.
Councilman Sidlow,
Aye.
Councilman Swigert,
Yes.
Councilman Long,
Yes.
Councilman Capabianco,
Yes.
Vice President Bull,
Yes.
President Percival.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Ms.
Thank
Catania,
you.
would you like to proceed?
The only other item, I have two items. The first is I wanted to talk a little bit about the Greenways. There were two applications that were put in last Friday. Well, the deadline was last Friday. Yours were in a little earlier. The first is a mini pros plan, which will give us an overall open space and recreation plan for the borough. There will be a point in time where we'll be looking for volunteers to be involved with the study group. That study group will work with a consultant that once we know that we have the money, that's a non-competitive grant, by the way, so we should be getting that money. I estimated the cost of that at $42,900. That includes some things that we need to do as far as advertising, public meetings, etc., having focus groups, bringing the public in to see what the public wants. What are we missing? What kind of activities should we be doing? I think they probably like the idea of some of your parties, Mr. Councilman Long, but we'll just leave that one for the public to decide. The other was the woodlot, and Mrs. Percival talked of that. The other part of this is I've added the lights along Burden, the replacement of the street lights, because it's what I considered in the grant application as a safety issue. So hopefully they will consider that as well. We'll get that cost for the Woodlawn Project is $187,950. and we were allowed to put a grant in without a match of up to $250,000. So we'll see how that goes. I spoke with Phil Welsh this afternoon, and he said that they are overwhelmed with the number of competitive grant applications that they receive. So it sounds to me like it's going to be very much like the community development block grants. Some municipalities will get them, and some municipalities will be unfortunately left.
If we don't apply, we don't know if we get them or not.
That's very
So-
true, and we had that project completed. I just had to update a cost estimate.
Right.
So we were lucky with that. And tomorrow, I am spending the morning with my favorite FEMA people to talk about hazard mitigation. There are 2 grants that are coming out, and it may very well be that we could look at something for the erosion along the creek.
That'd be
So
great.
I don't know, it's actually the FEMA hazard mitigation webinar that I've got to attend as the floodplain administrator. So I'll let you know if there's anything that I think is worthwhile. That, of course, doesn't have a match, Mrs. Percival. That's all I have, thank you.
As everybody knows, I'm all for free money. No match grants is the best because we don't have the match money. Thank you, Ms. Catania. You've done a wonderful job with these grants. Any questions for our engineer? Moving on to the solicitor's report, Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just have one issue on my report that concerns the 2020 audit. I've had multiple communications with our auditor concerning that particular audit. I'm pleased to present to council, we currently have no pending or threatened litigation. Again, that is certainly to the wisdom and good judgment of all members of council. The auditor was complimentary with regard to our internal financial controls, the checks and balances system we have, again, with the payment of all bills. So again, I'm expecting a clean audit for 2020. And other than that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
That's always good news. Thank you. Any questions for the solicitor? Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we do call to citizens. If you have a governmental question that you would like to come up to council, address them one at a time. Don't rush. We have plenty of time. You want to give your name and your address, please?
Michael Costigan, 254 West Roland. I have a couple comments. One is about
You have a question? Did you say you have a question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't have a question, I have comments.
Okay. And let me remind everybody, you have 3 minutes at the podium, and this time I'm going to set a timer so I don't screw up my stand thing.
Sure. My first is for the Ford Fitness Trail event. I just want to thank everybody that put that event on. I think it was a really nice event, and it was a great turnout. It was great to see so many people come out to that event. And I noticed on Facebook, I really don't like Facebook, but there was some posts by people who weren't even at the event about a sign that was misspelled, and I thought that was just really uncalled for. And I thought it was a shame and put a damper on the event because it was really a great event. So thank you again to everybody.
Thank you. And I don't know if anybody commented it was a manufacturer mistake.
Yeah, people make mistakes.
Will be
It's no
corrected
problem.
by the manufacturer.
Just a shame that some people that
It was.
weren't there.
It was.
My second comment is just about my own thoughts about having witnessed the Borough Council. I'm a lifelong resident of Parkside. My mother grew up here as a little, my grandparents moved to the early 60s. And I love this town. And I think it's really disappointing to see, as a resident of this town, this is not a political statement, but it's really disappointing to see the state of the politics of this Borough Council. It's very unprofessional, the behavior of people on the council, using Facebook to attack other people. It's mean divides the town, and it shouldn't be that way. It makes us all look bad. I think the town looks to the borough council members as role models. And I think about the children and the young people of this town. When they see this behavior, what are they thinking? You know, what's going through their mind? When they see people arguing with each other and not trying to solve the problems of the community. This should be about the community, not one person or what you believe. That's what I strongly believe. And as I said, it's just very saddening to me and disappointing to see this happening in the town. Just because you might have a D next to your name or an R next to your name, it shouldn't mean anything. It should be about the community. And I recently read John Boehner's book, the former Speaker of the House, and he has a great line about politics that I think is really important. He said, just because you may disagree doesn't mean you have to be disagreeable. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Just disappointed in the pictures.
And thank you.
Council. Disappointed in the council.
Thank you for attending our events. Next, can I get your name and your address, please? And I will remind you if you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mike Sweeney, 136 East Shelton Road. I have a problem with ordinances being, I have ordinance number 182-98H. Before erecting a fence, sketch plan and permit from the zoning officer must be obtained. It was not obtained. Ordinance 182-98B, under the same category of fences and walls, 12 inches from the property line. This was not also taken into consideration. It's a non-shared fence, meaning I never agreed or was asked about it, and it is intruding on my property by 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches. The other property, from my marker that I paid $700 to get a survey done in 2019, with the marker sticking out of the ground, the fence is between two garages, and the fence, which was just put up a week ago, that I know of, is approximately 10 to 12 inches on my property, and only 9 inches of available space on my neighbor's property, which is under the 12 inches, so there shouldn't be anything there at all. It also has rotted wood at the bottom of it, which could have termites in it that could get into my garage and spread infestation. And no permit was given. Breaking the ordinances, I don't see how this is a civil issue for me to spend money on lawyers, which I don't have when I live paycheck to paycheck. And I've been continuously harassed by this person, as the council knows, for several years, up to 20 years, approximately, where this has been going on. And this is just another little twist of the knife in the back, like, I'm not doing anything. How many times has the police been in my house about me? It's just continued harassment, and when an ordinance is broken, that's not my responsibility, that's your responsibility. I'm a taxpayer, I pay for this. Why isn't it addressed?
Let me stop you there. Number one, you did contact our code officer, and I understand the police have been involved.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. This has been going on for 7 years, if I'm not,
No,
6
about
years?
20.
How many?
About 20.
20 years.
Mhm.
There's been ongoing litigation between you and your neighbor. I saw the picture of the fence, And again, as you were directed earlier, I think you need to go either to the district attorney's office and file a private complaint, or go to the local district justice office and file a civil complaint.
That takes months. This is on my property. Why is it there? It shouldn't even be there because there's that 12-inch thing.
And you have your survey?
I have a survey done. There's
Then-
markers there.
Markers are right
The mar-
there.
the Markers
In the
are on
picture,
in the
too.
picture.
And-
You see the
orange
orange
thing?
markers sticking up.
That's a marker.
And again, this is nothing that the council does not get involved
It's
with
an
neighbor
ordinance.
dispute.
What happened?
As we've
It's not a
talked,
neighbor dispute.
as we've talked
No.
It's not a
before.
neighbor dispute. It's someone putting up something they weren't allowed to put up in the first place.
If this was-
Address that.
If this was Joe from Street C, this would not be an issue. This would be an ordinance breakage. I mean,
Is it on your property?
Yes,
Then why aren't you taking it down?
because we'll rip his garage and we'll get in trouble. It always comes
It's
back on
attached.
us.
I don't want
Always.
to
We've
touch
always tried to do this the right way.
I try to do things the
And I
right,
understand
proper
what
way.
you're saying. You've come before council for I don't know how many years, as long as I've been here. And I understand the problem. I truly sympathize with
And we're the
you.
victims.
How
I-
can you sympathize with us when your code enforcer will show up at my door for anything he calls in, but you have to take him to court? How's that fair?
Let me ask.
I had tires in the back of my house.
Let-
I got rid of in the 48 hours you guys gave
And
me
thank
to
you,
do
Nick,
it.
for removing the
Which-
tourists. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
ask
But-
Councilman Capabianco. You have given them guidance to go to the civil level.
Yeah,
I don't have money. Simple as that.
what I would suggest to this office and the police department by one of the senior judges, because the ongoing feud,
It's not
when I do,
you.
There's nothing.
Whatever-
Victims.
okay, well, let me rephrase that. The ongoing disputes that you and your neighbor have for over 20 years now, it was suggested by a senior judge of a district court that you guys go up there and make a civil complaint.
So he
We're
can laugh
taking
in our
this.
faces again?
Excuse me.
Let him finish, please.
It's the same judge that laughed at us.
And the old chief even told me that the judges in Brookhaven don't take Parkside seriously.
I don't know none of that, but
I don't-
I'm just going on.
I shouldn't have to go through the court system for an ordinance, issue.
I understand your problem. Again, the senior judge had suggested to this office and the police department, because of the ongoing feuds, that, shouldn't say feuds, disputes that you guys have, to go up to the civil court and get this done and over with.
And we have you.
I can't explain no more than that.
It's over with. You don't even understand how it works. You
Th-
don't
This,
understand.
this problem is never going away. I mean, I should have listened to Doug years ago when he said, why don't you move?
I knew that
Okay.
would come back to bite me.
All right, sir, the best thing,
If you said it, not me.
the best thing,
I love Parkside. My dad was sitting up there with you guys.
that's right,
There's a street named after my father.
that's correct.
Yet, I gotta go through this baloney.
The best
And
thing I
it's an
can,
ordinance thing, it's not mine.
the best thing I can tell you,
But I gotta have another heart attack after this.
please don't, it's not worth it.
I know it's not.
I have said to, Councilman Capabianco brought this to my attention. And I understand where you're coming from. And keep in mind that we do have a new district justice. Things have changed and evolved. And my suggestion, when I talked to the council member, was to have you go and file a civil complaint.
It will take months.
It will,
This is
no,
on
they're
my
moving
property.
right along. They're moving right
No, no,
So
along.
do we
You
go
don't know
just
the
to
justice
Brookhaven
system.
and do that?
Yes,
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Wasn't that the judge that was here?
Yeah,
yes.
Judge
There's no
Stone.
permit. It's
The
a
judge
fence.
was
Why don't you
here
guys say you
tonight.
gotta remove it?
The new judge
It's not.
was here this evening. That's the court you're going to go to. All right? And I thank you so much.
But if there's a problem with ordinances, I mean, why didn't he get a permit? That right there should tell you to take it
Does
away.
he need a
It's
permit?
illegal.
Question is, did he
Isn't
need a
it?
permit to put that up?
Are you, let me interrupt, if you're talking about this little side fence here?
Yes.
That little park, I can speak for Joe Ferguson, our building inspector. If your neighbor say he paid $20 for this part of the fence, let's say $20. He's not gonna charge anyone a $54 fee to put up a $20 fence. He would just let that go, and that's truthfully. I would too. I would,
But he would permit it?
With an old fence that was like termite.
You would have to bring, if he's putting up a fence, and as it says in the code, you must come here with the drawing of where you're going to put that fence.
Exactly.
And if he had seen this, if he got a permit and seen this, and again, if it's only $20 fence, he's not gonna give him a permit to do it, he's like, just go and do it, because why pay more in the permit fee than the $20 fence?
Is that kinda like the
You would
blacktop?
say, do it on their property?
Well,
Doesn't sound
Just like the
right.
blacktop.
I'm not suggesting that. He would still have to come in and give us, or not me, give the secretary a drawing of where this fence is going to be. That's all it is.
Did he do that?
No.
No, they're saying no, and I have no understanding of who comes in here and gets
Nobody asked me.
permits.
Nobody asked me. It's a non-shared fence, isn't that illegal? Or against ordinances? Everything here is against ordinances, plus the wood is so old, it could be, like I said, it could
Okay,
have termites in it.
I can't judge if this is,
I don't know why you're
look,
looking out.
to me,
We'll say-
I understand
There's
where
no
your
way-
markers are at, I understand that. But on our book, it says that we cannot establish property lines. I could say, look at this,
I paid
look at
$7
this.
for an official line.
Before you said, you guys get a survey and we'll get that cone off your property.
I said that to you?
The chief of police did.
Oh, I thought you were insinuating that I said that. I have no clue of that.
So all you need is a survey and we'll know your property and his property.
Okay.
We paid the $700 to do
And-
that. All we've ever done is listen to what you guys have told us. to do.
And that's why
Nowhere.
we're suggesting,
Nowhere.
you have the survey. You have photos, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it to the court and file a civil litigation against them.
That's how you get them.
That's gotta be the only way you're gonna settle this. I don't know what else to tell
I
you.
don't
I'm
want to
a
go to
little-
court. I want to stay out of court. I go to court too much because this man keeps attacking us in several ways that are apparently, he get,
I don't have any other solution, Nick.
I mean, you keep letting a bully get away with it. What's he going to do? He's going to keep bullying.
Oh, again,
You have to put a bully in his place. Fine him for being, intruding on my property. And it's not the first time. He did it.
Okay, all right. Let's,
Driveway is on my property.
why don't you wait till after the meeting, you can talk to Nick.
I want to tell him the same thing. It was
We've gotta
suggested
move
by senior judge, told us, again, to the police department and my office, that because of ongoing disputes that you have with your neighbor, you go up there and put a civil suit in against them. That's exactly their exact words. So that's what I'm suggesting to you, even though it's,
20 bucks. At your door, it says, you pay me 20 bucks and I'll rip the fence
it's not
down
like
for
we
you.
don't want to do nothing, like I don't want to do nothing. But again, I'm not going to get in a tick for tat.
All right, let's move on, please. Sir, thank you, we understand, and please take our advice by the judge's
I
recommendation.
don't like court.
Watch Linda.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. I'll hit you.
Judy Saunders, 62 East Shelton Road, Parkside. First, amazing floor fitness trail. I take the puppies there. I would love to have like some sort of hook where I could hook them and try to plank, because holding on to two very excited dogs while you're trying to plank is probably not the safest thing to do. But other than that, it looks amazing, and well done, council. Also, congratulations to Mayor Powers.
Thank you.
Although I like to think that my husband's better than him. Here's my question, and again, Engineer Catania, you're gonna hate me. Here's my question.
Oh, jeez.
I know, because I know nothing about what I'm talking about, but I have attended all the meetings and I really have been paying attention. If the pipes, like we have that strike notice from the 80s, so we don't know how bad the pipes are, would it behoove us to take all the pipes in that road while we have it opened up, instead of doing just those two sections where we have potholes? I mean, would that make sense, or do we have to dig into the street before we see how bad they are? I'm just thinking, if they haven't been maintained since the 80s, they're probably shit. That's just, but I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about this, so.
We only did a section, we did a video inspection, so.
I
so
remember that part, yes.
It's kind of like some of the tests that you do, and they take a camera through.
Right, it's like a
see.
colonoscopy.
Yes. I didn't want to say that publicly, it's on camera.
So that's what I did.
That would that would bite me for the rest of my life, so I didn't want to say that, but we already did a video. So typically, those pipes were put in, they probably have a 25-year life before they start rotting from the bottom. It's all over the county, all over.
Oh, no doubt. Again, I've seen
I
them,
have so much that needs to be done. So I understand your point. Right now, we don't know how much, really. I mean, if we have to do the entire corridor, we may get up to that Penn Best point.
Yeah.
And it's a 30-year loan, and, so what we're looking at right now is the immediate need. Understanding that we've got to look, because, I mean, I've been doing this for 36 years. I certainly know when I look at pipe in one section and it looks like that, what the rest of it looks like. So we're going to have to find some solution, and I still think it's PennDOT's responsibility. They designed it, they put it in, they ran out of money, and now it's municipality's responsibility.
May I ask another question?
So I'm just going to, I get on my high horse about that. It bothers me.
So, no, understandably. If we were to take out the loan, which I think we should do, I mean, the weather's just getting worse, you know what I mean? Like,
We're gonna
the
be
road
pushing
is getting
snow.
flooded, we're expecting snow now. It's not like it's gonna get any better magically.
Right.
It's not like that's gonna happen. If we take out the loan and we do these repairs using the money that we got, and this loan, would we still be able to go after them for the
Yes.
cost and recoup that?
If you're talking PennDOT now.
Yeah. But we're looking at, I think you're talking about the contractor.
Yes.
That disturbed this.
Exactly.
Well, it would only be one section. It would
It
be
would
the
only be that one section.
place.
So we could
You can actually see
basically
the
repair
patch.
it and then still seek retribution from this one person who may have compromised.
I'm sure.
That's a
that-
legal decision.
I'm sure that we would ask our solicitor to look into recouping our fees, no matter how much it would take and how long it would take.
Oh, understandably, I don't expect
Yes.
the wheels of justice to go fast.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Next, please, give your name and your address.
Morgan Johnson, 10 Beechwood Road.
I'm sorry, first name, hon?
Morgan.
Morgan?
Yes.
Thank you.
I first want to start with, I apologize about how I left the room before. I was a little angry. There was a little bit of cockiness in certain voices. And while I don't understand a lot of the laws that are in this town, I do understand the law. My uncle is on the Borough Council and media, so he comes home and he spouts about stuff all the time. And they're two different towns, believe me. But I just want to start off by saying that Pat Pointer has known me since I was 8. I'm best friend of her son, and I was going through a tough time, and she let me stay in her house. I do not rent from her. She in fact makes me go to the laundromat so I don't waste her water. She also times my showers. I mean, she doesn't like stand at the door, but like, she's like, make it quick. Even during basketball season, I'm in there quick, in and out. I just had brain surgery, so that's why my head is like this. Nick was in my house when I had my seizure, and he can say whatever he wants, and I don't know how you guys know that he wasn't there because you weren't there. He was in my house, and he was asking me questions, and he was talking to Pat while the EMS was there trying to get questions out of me. They were also talking to their doctors, trying to get me to go to the hospital, but I know for a fact that the hospital does not do anything at all. So I was waiting the 2 days I had to wait before I got my brain surgery. He handled it very rudely. He came back the next morning, asked Pat to come out while she was in her pajamas, and she refused to come out. And he handed her the citation, or whatever you want to call it, and said, you have to pay this, or I can make it very hard for you. And when he did that, she came in the house, woke me up, and showed me the letter. And I said, well, that's kind of ridiculous. And I went and I asked my mom for $300, which she didn't have. I asked my dad for $300, and they both came up with it somehow. And I got it, and it was sitting in my dresser drawer, and I went away to the hospital. While I was in the hospital, she got more letters in the mail. And there is a letter in our window of our door with his handwriting on it, saying, you have to do this. And then we found out she was going to be in court on December 3rd because she wasn't paying. Now, Pat doesn't have a lot of money, and she had already had a trip planned to go see her new grandson in Washington. So I was told to come talk to you guys. he was asking a lot of questions. He asked me who I was, if my pancakes were good, that I was actually puking up before he got there. My friend had to actually stick her hand down my throat to make sure I didn't choke and die during my seizure. He was also asking about the hutch that was behind me. I don't know why he was there if he isn't supposed to be there. And a lot of people are saying that he wasn't in the house, and again, I don't know how any of you know that when no one was there. He was definitely there.
Can I stop you,
Yeah,
please? I'm sorry for your health issues, let me say that.
Yeah.
Secondly, is this the gentleman over here that you saw?
No, that's the gentleman. I can remember his face.
Okay,
Let me interject for 1 second.
please, Mayor.
With all respect, I've been on every call at the house. Every call. I've been there for fire calls.
Oh, I know, I've seen you at
Yeah.
Excuse
And
me.
I had conversations
Mayor, excuse
with
me
you.
1 second. Ma'am, are you taping this in the back?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, with the light on. With
Are
the
you
flash.
taping this? I see a light in my face. Are you taping this?
I was checking my email.
No.
Okay. If you are taping, would you, if anybody is taping, as I say at the beginning of every meeting, would you please just notify us? That's all we ask, is you're notify us that you're taping. I'm sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
So I've been on every call at that house. Fire calls, seizures, all of them. I spoke to you plenty of times. I did patient assessments for you.
Yeah, I know.
And then did the proper things. So I'm going to ask the chief, because the police are on these calls also. Chief, do the police wear body cams?
We do.
Has anybody viewed the body cams at 10 Beechwood Road?
I have not seen the body cam footage. We can look into it, but I have not seen it.
Has any of your
Can I-
officers seen him?
Excuse me, can I ask if Officer McEwen has seen it?
I did view the video.
And could you please tell me if Councilman Capabianco was on that video?
In the video that we have, no.
Okay. Thank you, officer. I'm truly sorry. I don't know where the confusion is. I don't disbelieve
Can I see the
you.
video then?
I
know
don't,
for a fact he was sitting across from me.
Okay,
Like,
I don't-
he was literally right across from me.
I don't disbelieve you, but I know you were in a health issue and health stress at that moment. And
I was out of it at that point.
Rob, you were out of it, I'm sure. You were having seizures. And Rob and Nick, you could have confused those two.
They look
I'm not
very
saying that you did, and I apologize if you felt that you were offended. I truly am. You've got enough on your plate.
And I would.
But let me take a step back and say that this situation started in October of 2020.
And I'm telling
In
you
which-
that she does not make me pay rent.
Okay, in which the code, and I have the code here somewhere, that says if you leave somebody to live in your home, then you are to be considered a landlord. There are specific forms a landlord has to fill out. Then you have an inspection to make sure that the persons in your home are safe. Smoke detectors in every bedroom, there's no clutter so that the entrance and the exits are safe in case of emergency.
There was never an inspection.
There's never been an inspection, that's what I'm telling you. Since 1 year ago, October, and Nick, I'm not sure, I don't have any reports with me. October of 2020, we asked Ms. Corner, and I'm only mentioning her name because you
Oh, yeah,
did,
that's fine. No, that's fine.
to get the property inspected, fill out the landlord form. She said she was evicting, and I'm using that term, evicting her tenants by Christmas of 2020. This is now a year later almost. She initially had to come in and fill out two forms. Tenant landlord form and the form for an inspection. We do not demand money at that time. She has to pay it before the inspection. If the inspection's on a Friday, she can come in here and see Mrs. Higgins on a Thursday afternoon.
So if I'm not working because of my health issues, how is someone supposed to do that?
Mrs. Coiner is the one, the owner of the property is the one to pay it, not the tenant. Not you. Heaven
I'm not a
forbid.
tenant.
You should never pay this.
Yes.
So I'll leave you with this.
Pay rent. I'm
I'm not paying rent, so how am I getting?
The point is, you shouldn't be paying for an inspection. The owner of the property pays for the inspection. Mayor?
Yeah, so your problem with council and inspection, you and all, is really not my business. You're my business when we get called to your house. I would never allow anybody, council, anybody outside the police department, to walk in and interfere with patient care. It never would have happened. Under my watch, it wouldn't happen. And
He
Nick
was there.
knows that I
don't
wouldn't
know
let
what
it
to tell you guys. He
happen.
was there. I don't know what to tell you. He was there.
Were you on the last call?
I'm sorry.
Were you on the last call?
Were you on the
He
last
wasn't on the
call?
last call.
The last call before her.
Yes, I was on the last call.
Oh, so you did come out?
Yes, I was there.
And she-
You can see.
Where were you at?
Huh? I'm sorry?
Where were you at?
I talked to you.
That wasn't you.
Well, I know it wasn't you. You were in the hallway.
I wasn't in the hallway.
I met a girl at the table who was slumped over, and
I was actually
I was the
sitting
first one there, and it came an unconscious person. She just said she had a seizure, and she felt like she was going to have another one.
I never said I was gonna have another
Wait,
one.
okay. Well,
It-
you-
it-
okay, all right.
All right,
I just have a question. Do you know, was it the last one? Do you remember what date that was? Was it just recently?
Yes, it was September 1st. Was the
No,
last one.
It wasn't.
That's
She had another one, so she had surgery.
I've been there. I've been there 7 times. It was before the
It
surgery.
wasn't the first.
I am
It was 2 days
again,
before my sur- it was 2 days before my
I am
surgery.
again apologizing for all the confusion. I
There
think,
is no confusion,
I-
because I
I-
remember when I had my last seizure. It was 2 days before my brain
Which
surgery.
is November.
I think with all the confusion of your health issues, you may have confused
I
this
don't
man
have confusion.
with this man. I mean,
There is no confusion.
They're like
ma'am.
Mutt and
I'm trying
Jeff,
to tell you,
one's
the simple
tall,
fact
one's
that he
short.
said so- I am not.
all right, I think we're done. I thank you
You're
so
done
much.
because you don't want to be wrong. This is what I'm trying to tell you. He said September
Sir,
1st. I
madam,
know that it was
madam,
September
I've been
6th.
wrong so many times tonight, it doesn't bother me. I apologize. There's nothing I can say to you that's going to change your mind. Yes,
So, I'm her mother.
September 6th, yeah.
can you give a name and an
My
address?
name is Tawala Lee, and I live in Media, Pennsylvania.
Okay, would you give us a street address? We only,
403 East Lincoln Street, Media, Pennsylvania.
thank you.
Now, I'm her mother, okay? The day, that on September 6th, I got the phone call. I was on the phone with Savannah, who used to stay there. She told me my daughter had a seizure. I asked her who was in the house. Who's there? She said the EMTs, Pat, Morgan, and somebody named Nick. That's what she, listen, you don't have to be disrespectful
Okay,
because I'm just
okay.
telling you what she told me.
All right.
Okay, Mr., because we talked, because I called you the next day, if you remember. And I-
Somebody
That
called
was
me
me.
and asked if, does the tenant have to pay?
No. What I said was, Mr. Capabianco, I have a question for you. Is it normal for a code enforcement officer to be on a call or to be notified that there's somebody living in a house and they report that, the EMTs report that to you? That's the conversation that we had. I'm not, nothing's wrong with my brain. I know exactly what I said to you. I called you up because she told me Nick was there. When she showed me the letter, I asked her, do you know who Nick is? She's like, I don't know who Nick is. I looked at the letter and said, your name. That's why I called you, because Savannah told me you were there, and I called you and asked you that question to see if you would tell me that you were there.
Yeah, I was there September 2nd to notify Ms. Coyer
No.
of the violation.
The letter
There's
was
nothing
dated
wrong with my,
September-
if
Do
you
you
allow
have
me
your,
to speak.
wait a minute. Do you have your file with you?
Yes, I do.
Could you look up the copy of the letter, please?
Yes.
Just tell me how many days it is, from the day you give the letter, how many days?
And that way it gives us,
Right, that's what I want to know. How
it
many
gives
days
us a
is it?
specific
Is it 14
date.
days, is it
Yes.
12 days? How many
Yes,
days?
it gives us a specific
Yeah,
date.
Like, I'm not up here to argue.
I'm not here to argue with you.
I'm just
No,
telling
no.
you exactly what was told to me, and that's why that's prompted my telephone call to you.
Here's the facts. I was there November 2nd, and I put
I don't care about November 2nd. I
or
wanna know
September
about
2nd, on the, on
Is it
the
10
bags.
days? Is it 10 days? Is it 10 days? That's what I'm.
All right, just hold on a second.
I know what you're talking about, the 10 days. That's if you're a registered tenant.
No, that's the question.
Yes.
I understand that.
Here's
I'm
what,
not disputing that fact.
All right, give him a chance to look at the date of the
your
last.
corrective action on this was you have 7 days from the date of this letter to remedy the problems of the Borough Parkside shall take measures to rectify the violations. Underneath there, like I previously said, it states, the Borough Parkside appreciates your cooperation in resolving this matter. please feel free to contact the borough with any questions. Now, if those 7 days was not good enough for you, I would have said, well, how long is it going to take you? Like I do everybody else. I give you the opportunity to tell me how many days it's going to take you. And I do that with everybody.
I'm just trying to find out
Well,
what the heck is going
that
on.
was November, that was September 2nd. And I got pictures of the violation up on the window, which has been removed and put somewhere else, which is another violation of our code. I'm not doing nothing about it though.
Okay,
All right, I'm just letting you know.
I'm just asking.
All
I'm
right,
not trying to force
and
it.
again,
Did that
I was
clarify
never
that?
ever inside that house, and that gentleman
So
over the
you
officer
weren't in
said, I was never inside that. If I had to say, what color them rugs were in there to save my life, I'd be dead. Because I was never in that house. I would take a polygraph test on that.
Well, it's not that
All right,
different for me.
can
I'm
we-
just asking questions.
Do you have another question?
No, it's obvious that, to me, you guys don't hear, you are, like, you don't wanna hear it, and that's okay. It's okay, it'll be taken care of, whatever they have to do, they're gonna do. I just feel like, when I called him and I said, is it normal for you to automatically go to somebody's house? Like, how do you even know that she's in there?
Well-
I understand that they go and the ambulance and all, I understand all that, I know what all that is, okay?
Ma'am, let me explain. I do care, and I care about whatever's going on in this community by whatever person is having that issue. I have been told that when the police officers fill out reports, that copies go to the code officers if there is code issues. That's how they learn unless there's a call. Somebody called in today or sent an email saying this person's garage is falling down. That's how we learn about these
So
things.
was her garage falling down?
No.
And my understanding is, and I've spoken with Mayor Powers, I've spoken to Councilman Capabianco, and I understand what you're saying, that you feel Nick was there.
No, I don't know that, I was told that, and
Yes,
that's why I
and
called
I
him the next
understand
day.
that, and I understand that. And people can get confused, and I can only say that I have never known Nick to come in on an EMS call. And I would tell you, I had an ambulance next door to me this summer for a neighbor, and Nick was nowhere in sight, but Mayor Powers was, along with the EMS crew and the police officer, because the police officers come in on the calls too.
I mean, I understand that, I used to work for Media Borough for years, I did undercover things for them, I know it is. But my question was, when she told me that, and that prompted my call to him, I wanted to know what was going on. Because 3 people are gonna say that somebody was there
Yes.
on purpose, and he wasn't. And I wasn't there, so.
And I thank
I'm trying
you.
to get clarity on this.
I thank
Because
you.
because my daughter just had brain surgery, she cannot work. So when she needs money, guess who has to give it to her? Me, who's on disability, who doesn't work. I have to give it to her. And I don't know what their deal is, there's none of my business. I just wanted to come here and clear this up. Because I don't want anybody thinking that my daughter's alive.
And once
That's
again.
the first thing.
Once again, the tenant or whoever is living in the house does not pay for any inspection.
And I understand that.
It's the owner of the property.
But the way my daughter's heart is set up,
Yes.
she feels like she needs to pay.
I understand that.
Which prompted me to give her the money.
I understand that.
So, okay, it's no, I'm not, I just need clarity. That's
Thank
all.
you.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just, you kind of upset me when you're sitting here like, it's not funny. It is not funny, that's very disrespectful. And I had respect for you before I came in here. But the way you were acting is very disrespectful. I'm dealing with a 93-year-old grandmother who has cancer, and then my daughter who has brain surgery.
Noted.
Thank you. Next person, would you please give your name and your address?
Surely. My name is Kenneth Goldstein, and I live and reside at 2624 Parkside Terrace. And I feel like I'm breaking into a lot of tension here. The reason that I came this evening, and I thank you for the time and the opportunity, to the citizens as well. I'm just coming in response to the piece of communication that I bumped into that I took offense to. I thought it was very defamatory towards our code enforcement officer and council representative Nick Copianco. And knowing what I was coming into or walking into. But I live on Parkside Terrace, as you folks know. It's a more challenged pocket of Parkside Borough. There are 40 apartment units, 10 buildings, 4 units per building, and they were deeded off as twin duplexes. But in this part of the borough, as I said, it's very challenged, and there are a number of absentee landlords, and there are it's just a revolving door of tenants, very few being familiar with borough ordinances. So it requires a greater degree of police presence in the area and a greater degree of involvement by code enforcement in terms of how the properties are kept and the condition they're in. So I've had the opportunity, I've owned this building for 30-some years. I've lived in it now, maybe, I guess, I moved in 2013. But from the time that Mr. Copabianco started code enforcement, first of all, with regard to me on Parkside Terrace, at any time I had ever called him with any type of an issue, he was timely, he was professional, he was attentive, and took care of whatever problems that I had to deal with, and I was very appreciative of that. But from the time that he started in the borough here, because I was here before he was here, in terms of his position as code enforcement officer, I've seen a tremendous amount of improvement in the borough overall, and in the enforcement of the codes in the borough. They had been lax for years. I remember I was required to have, as an apartment owner, fire inspections. We're going back a number of years, and this wasn't involving Mr. Powers. Those inspections never happened. And they were set up year after year, fees were paid, nothing was ever done. And right now, I'm looking at a very, very proactive individual working in our Office of Code Enforcement, making it, at least as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a better place for all of us. Back in the 1980s, I sat, Ms. Percival, in your seat. I was president of the Borough Council, I guess of a town similar to Parkside Borough, and code enforcement was actually under my wing. So I have some familiarity with the workings of code enforcement. But unfortunately, it seems like politics tends to muddy the waters.
Yes.
Here, it really does. It creates just a lot of tension, and I respect certain comments, that you have made. But I have always tried to be an apolitical person and to vote for the candidate that I feel the most qualified, regardless of their political affiliation that you refer to as Arnold did. And truth be told, I'm not sure I want to tell the truth here, I've been a registered Democrat for 50 years. But regardless of that, I look at Mr. Copabiano's commitment to what he brings to the table for this borough. And there, in my opinion, there's not another person out there who's more qualified to be in code enforcement than he has been. And I had hired a number of code enforcement officers in my day. As far as his position as council person, that's true. That's up to the voters.
Thank you.
I'm talking about his position as code enforcement, but even as a council person, he would have, as a long-term Democrat, he would still have my support and have my vote.
Thank you so much. We
Based on his
appreciate you
dedication.
coming up.
Just one more moment, if I may, ma'am. So, so the posting that I saw did state one thing that was correct, and it said, we need to carefully consider who does this job with code enforcement. The official, because of the way it's done, makes a big difference about how people feel about the place where they live. So in my opinion, based on the facts as I see them, Nick works tirelessly for the benefit of the borough and all of us. I judge people based on not rhetoric, but what their deeds are, what their deeds and their actions are. And interestingly, I had to come to this, I stopped at the borough office this morning at 7 a.m. A lot of you were still asleep. and I didn't expect to see anybody. But there was a police officer, Officer D'Antonio, is that correct? He was there working, keeping us safe. And this gentleman over here, Nick, was in his office with both his screens lit up and papers all over his desk, working to enforce the borough codes and ordinances. Just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you so
Ken.
much.
Try to make this short, but some of you that know me know that's pretty hard.
Would you please give your name and your address, and how short are you going to be? It's after 9 o'clock.
3 minutes. So, Michelle Skroback, 157 West Garrison. As you have stated, as well as being whichever party you are, I look at the objective. It's how I was raised from a long-time Democrat. I came to this town as a Democrat, and I changed my party because of some things I was seeing. But I know that I still have a vote come this election to vote for whoever I want, whether it's Democrat or Republican. I'm going to vote for who I think's doing the correct job. What I'm disappointed at is seeing some of our council members posting on Facebook instead of getting the facts. We need to work together as a team. Councilman Sidlow, the code enforcement officer, receives 50% of the money he collects from enforcing the codes. I've been a teacher by trade, so I know how to do research. I don't need to get it from anybody on council. Go to the Parkside Borough website under ordinances, and it's there, as you had read. I had it in my hand today. This is what I did on my lunch break at work that I didn't want to do. But I'm tired of seeing posts pointing fingers at council members. Get it together. If you don't know what's going on, or if you want to know what happened to this at this residence, go to the councilman, go to our code enforcer, and ask. Ask questions. Because I know if I were new on borough council and elected, I wouldn't know what the heck I'm doing unless I've done the research and read what's been in front of me. It's a disgrace, and everybody sees it. Brookhaven sees it. Brookhaven's commenting on some of the messages. It's a disgrace. I live in Parkside? Yes, I do. Proud, Parkside strong. We need to show this to our kids. My son's here, seeing this. My son's friends with your son. I love Henry. He's a great kid. But I don't like to see this division at all. I don't want our kids to see this. And they're seeing it. So again, get it together. Ask questions. Read the ordinances. He's not getting paid 50% from a violation getting slammed on a door. It's inspections. Inspections. Right here and write it. Right here and write it. Tree limb was on off of West Garrison.
Tom Sweeney.
Tom Sweeney.
I read on Beth Hell's site, somebody was, we don't know what to do, we don't know what to do. Well, called 911, but I took it upon my research, let me call the borough myself. Going on my way to work. I called, got in touch with our code enforcer, who then went over with an officer and took that tree limb down. Is it a live wire? They're risking their lives to go take a tree limb down? 911, PICO might have to come out. But they did it themselves. They did it themselves. They knew it wasn't, but they did it themselves. Instead of putting it out on Facebook, hey, we've got a problem, call the borough. Stop putting things on Facebook with all the questions and all the problems and call the borough. Put it in writing so it gets into the minutes. So then I hear about it. I come to these meetings because I want to learn. And I've been coming to these meetings for years. Before some of the council members even started coming and sitting back here at these meetings. I've been here. My grandfather, yes, I'm going to say it again. Mayor of Norwood for over 30 years. God bless his soul, he's no longer living. The only Democrat in an all-Republican council. And Lisa Catania can
I can
back
vouch
me up
for it.
on that.
Yeah.
There's a reason
man.
he was voted in every year, because he was objective. He looked at all parties. He didn't look at whether, are they a Republican voter or are they a Democrat voter? He pushed it away. That's what we need on council. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a division, and I'm tired of it. I'm a taxpayer. I like to know where the funds go to, so that's why I did the research. I wanted to know myself. I'm not going to social media and finding it out. Do the research. It's right here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Could you please give your name and your address?
Hi, Ben, at 144 East Shelton. I'll try to make it quick.
Nobody else has, so just.
After seeing a repost of Mr. Sidla's Facebook post of Tuesday about our code enforcer, Nick Capobianco, I must address his accusations. First off, I find it concerning that a councilman would go on social media to post about a resident's personal affairs, sharing her specific address and the name of the tenant residing with Parkside resident Pat Pointer, along with disclosing that this person has a, quote, very bad medical condition that doesn't allow her to work. I don't think a council person has the right to air something like that on social media. None of your business. Mr. Sidla's facts are wrong. Whether they are a lie created by him or misinformation provided by Ms. Pointer, who knows, it may be advisable that before you as a fellow councilman post erroneous information, you may want to investigate the other side of the story. Mr. Sidlow posted how Nick returned to the resident's address the next day after an EMS call at the address the day prior, giving Ms. Pointer 5 days to register her tenant and pay $300, and stated that Nick supposedly stated that if it isn't paid, we, quote, would make things difficult for her up to and including jail time. This is Mr. Sidlow's words. He doesn't want to apologize, by the way. Again, did Mr. Sidlow go to Nick for the other side of the story, or is this just conjecture? Mr. Sidlow went on to state that Nick has put a sticker on the resident's front door and is giving her another $344 fine every few days, stating this is not how Parkside Borough should be enforcing codes. And if you elect Pat Pointer and the rest of the Democratic ticket, we are going to change that. Once again, has Mr. Sidlow verified this to be correct? And if so, gotten the official reasoning from the code enforcer of any fines imposed and exactly why? I must add here that during a Democratic videotaped meet and greet at New Level Nutrition, Mr. Sidlow stated how he hated the Republicans on council, that he planned to change it, and that he wanted the code enforcer position. This post seems very suspicious in rallying a cause for Democratic votes.
I have no interest in being a code enforcement.
Mr. Sidlow made an accusation that Nick was present at Ms. Pointer's home during an EMS call for her tenant and accused him of interfering with emergency services. It's a very serious accusation. He implied that by asking questions related to the tenant issue, and did you, Mr. Sidlow, verify that this happened with anyone with Parkside Fire Company, maybe Mr. Powers? You may have wanted to check your facts before making an accusation or a lie, because I asked Nick about this, and he's never set foot in her home. Mr. Sidlow went on to make another accusation. Nick views himself as a person in a position of authority and chooses to use that authority in ways that intimidate and bully the residents. I take offense to this. I'm almost done. You have made an accusation against your fellow councilman who has gone above and beyond in the borough in keeping home values, a man who actually enforces borough codes, paints signs on weekend mornings on his own time, a man who has fixed plumbing and floor issues in the borough and not charged a dime, volunteers his own time on a night of downpours to direct traffic on Edgemont Avenue during a road closure, a man who participates in every parade, taking pictures of residents along the parade route. I could go on and on. But the point is that this man is out for the borough. Again, at no cost. Yes, as a homeowner, try to sell your house and have poor code enforcement. I bet that you'll be thankful if you sell your house here, that you'll get a good buck because we live in a town that sells well. What exactly, Mr. Sidlow, have you done for Parkside? Mr. Sidlow ended his post with, quote, "The only way that change is going to happen is if the community of Parkside defeats long-term Republican incumbents and instead elects the full Parkside Democratic ticket." I see right through your post, an opportunity to sling some lies, hoping some stick, soliciting a vote. I would ask any resident watching this meeting or hearing about it through social media to compare all of the good and all of the progress made by these very individuals to make this town a better place. Finally, the lies and misinformation put on Facebook by both you and Anna Guy is unfortunate for the residents who should be able to trust information being put out by our elected officials. Whether active council members or those of you on the sidelines being paid to do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Very briefly, Lisa Custerell, 252 East Avon Road. People talk about division, but I guess it wasn't divisive when people were calling CPS on Mr. Sidlow and his wife, peeking into his bedroom, worrying about what people do in their private lives. It's like something out of a nightmare.
Let me correct you immediately.
Yes.
I will correct you immediately. Nobody peeks in anybody's windows. I will tell you.
Or
if
you worry about it if you find out what someone's doing in their bedroom.
Well, isn't it a matter of fact that people who belong to social media groups such as what Mr. Sidlow belonged to knows he's an elected official and can send that information to somebody else on this council? So you're directing your comment right at me.
No, I'm not directing it at you, Mrs. Percival. I'm directing it at people who, like Mr. Bennett, who tweeted at all of the media to come investigate Scott. And it was wrong. Nothing was found, and it was a personal attack and put him and his family through a lot of
understand?
And emotional turmoil, just like you did to
Brought on by him.
And I'm finished.
Let me ask you something. Do you understand what the crux of the problem was? Mr. Powers just became mayor. Did you hear his oath of office? Did you hear him? You are to uphold the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Borough of Parkside. Mr. Sidlow openly admitted he smokes pot. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it is illegal. He has violated his oath of office.
How many people here ever smoked weed?
From day
No
one.
one's afraid to raise their
I'm
hand.
sorry, but you know what? He's an elected official. Now you open the book, let's read it.
Excuse me.
He is an elected official, and I'm not.
No, calling
All right,
protective services
ma'am.
on people who've done nothing wrong.
Ma'am.
He hasn't done anything for a borough.
Ma'am.
Oh, so he deserves to have.
He won't give him any jobs. Ma'am, you're talking about two different things, apples and oranges. If the public wishes to smoke pot, God bless them. You are talking about an elected official, period. Now, does anybody have a governmental question? It's 20 after 9 in the evening.
I just want to say thank you.
Mr. Ford, thank you.
Well, it's good to see you.
Oh,
On this side now.
There, Bill.
Good to see you, Mr. Ford.
On behalf of the Ford family, I want to thank you for the trail. It was a great day.
Come on, man, go work out. Wait, you got your timer.
You did a good thing.
Thank you.
I've been through my whole life, and I'm proud of it. Two good people.
I'm
Two
so
good men.
glad. I'm
Thank you.
so glad.
And do me a favor, get along. You know what I mean? I've been on council, get along.
That's right, you were.
You can agree to disagree, but get along. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've beat that horse to death. Let's move on to unfinished business. Councilman Long, you have something for this evening.
It pales with everything just went down.
Yes, I know.
Basically, it is about the Hometown Hero program. The banners are being printed. They're expecting them any time now. I have a dedication ceremony planned just for the families of those that put in for the banners for October 23rd. I have it, it'll be held here at the Borough Hall, and I have an honor guard. I have a 9-gun salute. I have Officer Cleary playing the bagpipes, and what else?
And refreshments.
And the taps. And we have taps playing. And I will be getting a non-denominational minister to say a few words, as long as I'm also going to check with Judge Stone.
Okay.
I think it's a
Dave
great.
Schlott, too.
Yes. I think it's a great program. I want to thank everybody who put in for it. It'll be a nice added feature to Parkside. We're going to have them hanging down through Edgemont Avenue to coincide with Brookhaven and Upland. And anything over, once we get off the avenue, then we'll start putting them on the side streets. I'm hoping next year sometime that we'll do the second batch. Brookhaven has graciously offered to hang the banners at a reasonable cost. Once again, their bucket truck is delayed, so they're going to rent a bucket truck, and we'll do it that way.
That was
And
nice of them.
also, I want to talk, we had an issue with the woodlot, with the spotted lanternflies, with the resident.
Can I interrupt you one
Sure.
minute? Would you please name the members of your committee that are working
Oh,
on
sure.
this?
I have Mary Beth McGettigan, who's been helping, and Kim Roman. She's helped when Mayor Dietman resigned. She stepped in.
Super.
And
Thank you.
between the three of us, we're doing pretty good. So,
You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
And to save money,
Thank
also,
you.
Mrs. Roman and I will be driving up to get the banners.
Oh, wow.
Because apparently it would cost hundreds of dollars for shipping, because the clamps are very heavy. And then back to the spotted lantern, we had a resident who had 3 trees that were completely covered with the spotted lantern flies. I believe that Mayor Powers and Code Enforcer Capobianco went over, and they said you could barely see the tree through all the spotted lantern flies. We called it pest control. They came out and they sprayed this past Sunday. It is environmentally safe. We had a resident who asked, she was afraid for the bumblebees and the flies and the mosquitoes. And I asked the company that when I talked to them the other day, this stuff is formulated just for the spotted lantern flies. Nothing will happen to any of the environment. Kids, animals, and other insects were safe. And I spoke to the resident the other day, and he was very pleased. He said you can see the tree now. And this company will come back out again at the end of October to assess to see if they need a second application. And then they will also come and talk to us about doing the woodlot, because apparently the whole woodlot is covered with them. So, and this company is recommended by the state, the agricultural state of Pennsylvania, to do this. So
And thank you for taking that project on. It's
Sure.
appreciated.
that's all I have.
Any questions for Councilman Long? Does anybody have any new business, old business, or in-between business before we adjourn?
We have a question here.
Are we having trunk or treat this year?
Yes, we are!
And when is it?
I didn't want to announce this yet because I understand some of the plans are still up in the air. Parkside Borough Council, along with our fire company, and I'd like to thank the fire chief who's in the back. Thank you so much. We will be sponsoring with the fire company a trunk or treat event again this year. We did not have it because of COVID last year. October 30th. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going because Ms. Powers here brought it up. I believe we start at
This
4:30.
is going to be 6 to 8. You have to be in the parking lot by 5:30. And then
5:30.
we'll shut the parking lot down.
And we will, Chief, if you would have a police officer there to monitoring, nobody comes
I'll
zipping
be-
through with a vehicle or
I'll be
anything.
putting out flyers and giving them to the school,
Yes.
and they'll hand them out to the kids from the school.
And we will have police protection on site. Mayor, if you would coordinate that with the chief.
Sure.
Does anybody else have any new business, old
Yeah.
business? If not, I'll adjourn.
Can I- quick question,
Sure.
or a quick point. Thought of it after we went back. I know we approved the motion to look at extending the loan to 200,000.
Mhm.
Or to start the look on that. Do we need a motion to start working on the grant paperwork as a possibility for a source of income as well?
It, at this point, hasn't been announced.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know if that was something we
Once
could
I
start the
know-
ball rolling or not.
Right.
We
Okay.
don't know.
In that case, then.
Typically,
I make a
I think
motion,
it's
then I make a
April.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I think it's April.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long night.